They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
What's up, everybody? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. And before we get into it, I do want to point you guys one more time to that poll. It should be down in the description. Just really quickly, give me your thoughts. And that's going to be the last time I shout that out. So hopefully, we'll get enough responses that I can do a video within the next couple of days on that. But with that out of the way, let's get into it for today. So the Brooklyn Nets have sort of struggled since their move for James Harden. We knew that it was going to be a bit of an adjustment period, and we know that they still have a long way to go. And they're not playing at their peak right now, which makes sense. It's a huge shakeup, and they're going to need some time to adjust to it. However, some of the problems that we thought they might have are showing themselves to be true, right? We thought, okay, they're probably not going to be great on defense. They're probably not going to be great rebounding because their only really true big on the roster right now is DeAndre Jordan, and they've been playing like Jeff Green at some small ball five. KD been playing some small ball five, and we've seen them do it in the past, right? But they do, getting rid of Jared Allen and Taurean Prince and some of the other guys on this roster is going to hurt them in terms of defense and in terms of on the boards, right? And we've seen those problems show up in their games against the Cavaliers this past week, right? Cleveland was a team that was coming into this game with the worst ranked offense in the league, I believe. Now, that was partially because they were missing Colin Sexton and Darius Garland, and those guys were able to come back for these games. But the Cavs hung like 150 and then hung like 125 on the Brooklyn Nets defense. So, early suggestions say that this team is probably not going to be extremely good defensively, and they're probably going to need another body in the paint. So what I've done here is I've kind of made a list of some of the options around for Brooklyn, what they can do, who they can acquire potentially this year, whether it's now or at the deadline, in order to help improve this team. And they do have a couple of options in order to be able to get some guys. They have the Spencer Dinwiddie injury exception, the disabled player exception, which is about $5.7 million. They can acquire someone for that or less, as well as they have their taxpayer mid-level exception, which is, I believe, a very similar number, 5.7 or less. So they have both of those things that they can use, as well as Spencer Dinwiddie's salary. They could potentially trade him, even though he's injured. He is still, you can still trade him as long as the other team waives the right to take a physical. So you can still trade Spencer Dinwiddie. Who wants to take in a guy who's going to miss the rest of the year on an expiring contract is a different story, but at least that's an option there, right? So they can acquire some players here in order to help kind of shore up their big man rotation. So there's just a couple of options here, and I'd like to go through them really quickly here with you guys about who is available for the Brooklyn Nets to kind of fix some of their problems that we've seen them have. And yeah, let's get into it. So here are some of the top free agents at that power forward center spot, guys who can potentially bring something on defense, who are out there available. You can just sign them out of free agency. They've got a couple of roster spots open. Today they did sign Norvel Pelle to a roster spot. Now he, who knows how significant he will be in terms of their rotation. They probably will still need another body, at least in my opinion. But Norvel Pelle is part of that. But there's a couple of other options here, right? You have some of these defensive specialists. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson has been known as a good defender. You've got some big men in here. I'm not going to go through them all by name. You can read them up on the screen. A couple of these guys are older, inching towards retirement, like Pau Gasol, Tyson Chandler, Joakim Noah. If they're not already retired, then, it's going to happen soon for them, but at least they're still available, somewhat in game shape to be able to come play. Got a couple young guys on here, Jordan Bell, Amari Spellman, Thon Maker is an option there, and then just center guys, Jan Mahimi, Dwayne Dedman, you can read, right? Those are some options just in free agency. You won't have to give up anything to do this. You can bring these guys in, and if they don't work out, I'm sure pretty much every single one of these guys will probably accept a 10-day deal. You can bring them in, try them out, see how it works. If not, no skin off the back of the Brooklyn Nets, it's okay. So these are the lowest risk options, and I think we'll probably see them try out some of these, especially if the Norvel Pelle thing doesn't pan out like they're hoping. We might see kind of a rotating door of centers move through Brooklyn over the next couple of weeks, and these guys could be some of the options for them. All right, so here you have a couple of guys that are likely to be on the buyout market, or at least have some sort of chance to be on the buyout market, or might, just get cut by the team. Not even just a buyout, just maybe sort of a cut throughout the rest of the regular season. Teams do that, making similar roster changes and whatever. You can potentially see some of these guys become available. So a lot of these guys I did mention in my video on buyouts from a couple of weeks ago. I talked about guys that are most likely to hit the buyout market this year, and a lot of these guys could potentially be options for the Nets. We've seen this, right? I think JaVale McGee, probably one of the most likely options out there to get a contract buyout, especially now with Jarrett Allen being in Cleveland. I think JaVale will probably hit the free agency, at some point during this season, or whether or not Brooklyn wants to trade for him, he could fit into one of those salaries. That's also an option. You have guys Felicio, Biyombo, Zeller. Who knows if Zeller gets bought out? He's probably a little bit too good, and I think the Hornets might be a little too good, but at least there's an option. Jakar Sampson's an intriguing one if he gets cut by the Pacers at any point. Gorgie Jang is probably one of the better players on this list. He's been playing really well. If for whatever reason the Grizzlies season goes sideways, he could be an option there. Ed Davis with the Timberwolves struggling, that's something. 2 Knicks players, Nerlens Noel, Taj Gibson, and then 2 Kings players as well, Hassan Whiteside, Jabari Parker. All these guys could potentially come in and fill out the big man rotation, and I would expect at least a few of these guys to be available on the buyout market when the trade deadline rolls around. So we'll just have to see how things shake out, but a couple of these could be intriguing options here. And then here are some options that they could potentially acquire via trade. I don't anticipate any of these guys to be hitting the buyout market this season, but you could see the Nets swing a trade for them if the price is right, or if these teams start to struggle. You could potentially do a swap of a player for player, maybe somebody that fits a little bit better on a different team, whatever. You guys know the drill, right? Garrett Temple was a guy who was on the Nets last year. He could potentially come back, fits right into that exception that they have. They could acquire him. Similar, Boban, Jahlil Okafor, Boogie Cousins is a guy that is intriguing, although he hasn't looked great this year. If the Rockets do a fire sale at the deadline, you could potentially acquire Boogie. Mason Plumlee, you could, that would have to be... I believe the Spencer Dinwiddie salary would have to be traded for that because Mason Plumlee's a little bit too big for the disabled player exception, but you could acquire him, potentially. Similar deal with PJ Tucker. Now he's the crown jewel right now of the NBA trade market, just because he's a guy who's making a cheap amount of money, he can clearly play, he can impact playoff teams. We've seen him do it in recent years, and I think he would fit perfectly on this Nets team. He's exactly the type of guy that they need, but it's going to be a little bit tough to acquire them because they don't really have any picks in order to give up, so they'd have to throw in a young player unless it's Landry Shamet. It's kind of tough for me to see the Nets acquiring PJ Tucker, but at least there's a chance that they pull it off here. Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard are both, you'd have to include the Dinwiddie salary for that. Khem Birch is an interesting option. I'm not sure if the Magic are open to moving him, but if they are, he's kind of underrated. He's actually been pretty good over the past couple of years. Not many people have noticed Khem Birch just because he kind of plays behind Vucevic in Orlando, but he's been a really good piece for them. So maybe that's some sort of option there. I don't know. If the Magic are willing to give up on it, that's something I would give a look at. And then Aaron Baines too. Considering how the Raptors have moved to Chris Boucher in recent weeks, and Baines has not been playing super well, maybe there's a chance they're ready to move on from him pretty quickly, but we'll have to see. And then I do just want to throw out Andre Drummond and LaMarcus Aldridge. Both of those guys you would say are probably a little bit too good to be bought out and maybe a little too expensive, but there's always the chance of that, right? I heard a couple people floating the potential that Andre Drummond gets bought out by the Cavs this year. The Jarrett Allen thing really complicates things for Cleveland, considering he's going to be their future at the starting center spot, and so who knows what Drummond is like. If they can trade him, they probably will, but it's tough to imagine anybody taking on that salary. So there's a chance that there's an Andre Drummond buyout, and if that happens, the Nets are going to be in the front of the line to acquire him simply because they can offer more money with either that disabled player or that mid-level exception that they have. So they can offer more than a minimum to Drummond to come in for the rest of the year. That's something to keep an eye on. LaMarcus Aldridge, similar situation. The Spurs have actually been okay this year so far, but it looks like they're going with more of a youth movement, and Aldridge has not looked great so far. He definitely has taken multiple steps back in terms of being a star player. He's more of a role player these days. So maybe, who knows what the Spurs are going to do, right? It's an interesting situation in San Antonio. But these two options here are probably the best of the bunch that you'd be able to get. Not in a trade. There's no way they can match enough money in order to get to these numbers without gutting their entire roster, which they're not going to do for either of these two. But if either of these two players were to hit the buyout market, the Nets are going to be at the front of the line for their services. So I think that's about it. That was a pretty exhaustive list. I don't think I hit everything. There's a couple of other guys out there. I know Alex Len recently signed with the Wizards, but maybe if things don't work out, he could be an option. I was thinking maybe Tony Bradley if the Sixers decide to cut him at some point. You know, you could look up and down the league and see a couple of players that might become available on the free agent market or trade or whatever. But I think I put together a pretty good list of some of the guys that the Nets could be looking at. And like I said, they did bring in Norvel Pelle. I think they're going to look at a couple of other guys as the season wears along. But yeah, I think that's about all I have for you today on the Brooklyn Nets and their, roster situation. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, ring the bell if you want to, leave a comment letting me know what you think about the Brooklyn Nets, who they could potentially get, and let me know if you like this type of video because it's a little bit different, and I'm interested in this kind of stuff. So if you like this, it would help me out a lot if you would maybe send it to a friend who you think might be interested, a couple other NBA fans out there, because yeah, let me know if you like this type of video. And yeah, with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one.